terms of Western RPG versus Japanese RPG have better stories, better characters, and better settings. Now, there's three distinct different things.
Oh, man.
Jimmy, I guess you can go first.
It's going to get a little heated here.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to bash the other one.
Oh, no,
just state why you think the other has it much better. But if you want to bash a little, because I'm going to.
Just let me express myself.
Okay, express yourself.
So the first one was better characters.
No, better stories, like the actual plot.
Okay. I mean, I have more experience with Western RPGs, but then again, I did play a shit ton of Japanese RPGs as a kid, and they all seem to be infused with a lot of melodrama, and I felt like a lot of the characters were really, like, everyone seemed to have a secret past and was deeply troubled, and there weren't a lot of opportunities to interact with them with meaningful ways outside of the main story. And in a role-playing game, that's a no-no for me. Even if, like, you know, it wasn't expected of a game back then, it still doesn't make it any better. Whereas like most Western games, I feel really go out of their way to get you invested. I just started talking about the characters anyway. I hope that's cool.
Okay, go right into characters.
Yeah, so I really liked like in games like Mass Effect, like I've mentioned a million times earlier, we both did, how you have all the different side missions that you can do where you get to learn about them and like kind of make them important to you in your own personal way. Also, I feel like the designs tend to be a little less lazy. Like when it comes to characters in Western RPGs, it's like I feel like a lot of JRPGs use very similar art styles. Whereas
I go more with more with culture.
Yeah, totally. But like, still, like, it doesn't. I don't think
it doesn't appeal as much. Yeah, I understand.
But and then there are games like Fable, and I really like their design for characters across the board, pretty much. Like everything from Mass Effect, Dragon Age, Fable. All these games have really unique characters. I feel with story. Once again, I feel like it's unfair to completely just compare one culture to the other, because some JRPGs have really interesting stories. Like Chrono Trigger's is amazing.
Shin Megami is always a fucking mind.
Xenogears.
But then at the same time, like I feel like a lot of JRPGs have really fucking convoluted storylines that really
without a doubt,
getting really invested in the characters or really giving a shit about the story. Like I love
Kingdom Hearts.
I love Kingdom Hearts, but please explain to me the story of the games in less than a single paragraph, and I will give you a fucking Nobel Peace Prize, because that makes no sense. You
could do it with the first two, but not after that. It's just
I got something to say about Kingdom Hearts. Can I interject? You have stirred some. I actually agree with you, Jimmy. Let me explain my thing with Kingdom Hearts. The first game, I love the first game. I think it's a brilliant game. It has some design issues. Okay, has a few design issues. But story-wise, I thought the story in the original Kingdom Hearts was concise, to the point, and wonderfully done, and it felt like a Disney film.
Yeah.
To me, with Kingdom Hearts 2 is when it started to get, what the fuck is going on?
When they went from Heartless to Nobodies to Organization 13, it just, I don't know. I mean, before I get to that, I wanted to touch on a thing with Western RPGs. I tend to like their stories more, but at the same time, I feel like the big draw of most Western RPGs is choice and the effect that you can have on the story, and I feel like they need to kind of push it in a more intense direction. Like, even if the choices mean a lot to the player, they don't really diverge, like, they don't make the plots diverge a lot. And I feel like what they need to do is maybe start having games settled in the same universe, but maybe have them involving different characters. So like with in sequels. So in the single games you play, your choices can really change everything. Like I'd like to play a Western RPG where the second half of my game could look completely different to someone else's, and I've never seen that before. So I like Western RPGs more when it comes to their stories, but they still have a lot of way to go.
Gotcha.
As for settings, I don't know. I like both. It's not really a cop-out, because I feel like, a lot of Western RPGs have more grounded settings, even in their futuristic and fantasy ones. Like, you can still kind of, you can look at a picture of something and know what's going on, whereas with, like, if you look at a JRPG, you're like, whoa, bro! Who gave you all this LSD? And sometimes I like that. Like, I like how wacky and colorful and just kind of nonsensical Final Fantasy's setting could be.
I love
games like
I think the new one looks great.
Yeah, games like Dissigia, Final Fantasy.
Dissigia is great shit.
Yeah, and those games are so fucking wacky, and I love it about them. And then I like the more grounded but fantastical Western settings.
All right,
I'm done.
Okay. Well, I kind of agree with a lot of your points. I'll get right to the story.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Japanese RPGs, and let me say why. I feel like Japanese RPGs, despite, like you said, convoluted as shit a lot of the times, or just really more for the teenage or kid group, because that's what some of them are made for. I feel like Tales deals with a lot of mature subjects, but with the dialogue, it never goes overboard.
Yeah.
But if you really look into it, they have a lot of deep, meaningful things that they're really going for, which I love. I feel like Japanese RPGs are just a little bit more ambitious when it comes to stories. However, when the story is good in a Western RPG, something like Mass Effect 2, it's really, really hard to beat. But at the same time, for every Mass Effect 2, I have a Persona.
Yeah.
And for every shitty story, like, I don't know, Enchanted Arms, we have fucking Two Worlds. So there's always going to be, like, kind of that balance, which we'll get more to later. So for stories, the story to plot itself, I'm going to go with JRPGs because usually a bit more ambitious. However, characters, easily Western RPGs. And like you said, they're more natural, kind of easier to connect to for me.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody. Japanese RPG, usually the characters are more relatable on anime level. Like, you can enjoy them, you like them, they're badass, they're funny, they're cool, or they're stupid, or whatever they are. But for a Western RPG, yeah, I feel like I can relate. Like, I am that character finding these people, and I can understand why he killed his mother, or he robbed that guy, or she's a whore, or whatever the reason is for,
That's a very good point.
For Dragon Age or Fallout or whatever. So, character-wise, I really think Western RPGs, for me, just more relatable and understanding. Not to discredit Japanese RPG characters, because some are just awesome. Now, settings. This is, like you said, one of the hardest things. Yeah. For settings, I'm going to go with a slight edge on Japanese RPGs, but not to discredit, again, Western RPGs. They have really well-established worlds, and sometimes so much shit, like Dragon Age, that they literally have to expand between, like, 4 fucking games to get most of this world. But, at the same time, they really feel it's always, like, after the world's destroyed, or Dragon Age time, medieval, or space. Yeah. That's really the 3 I've only ever seen, or the ones that get noticed. Really,
I mean,
like, can you name another one that's not like, besides like Child of Light, which is the only example I can think of that's recent.
Of what?
That's like an RPG that takes place in not medieval, like Dragon Age time, or not sci-fi, or not after the world's destroyed, like Fallout or something.
I mean, that's kind of broad. I feel like you have a lot of things in the future that look really different. Like, compare Mass Effect to Deus Ex. Boom! Super different. And then you have medieval games like Dragon.
Okay. Deus Ex is that example, and actually is like, kind of like, what do you call that, Cyberpunk?
Yeah.
So, that's it. That's where I'm going to stop, and Magus is...
But, here's my thing with story, and Alex and I talk about this. With the exception of BioWare, my problem with Western RPGs are, I feel that most plots are plot-driven. Whereas in JRPGs and BioWare games, I feel... And I'm putting them in a separate thing because the thing with BioWare is they feel... You guys have all... It's funny because you guys have mentioned, BioWare games and how attached you are to their characters. But...
Yeah.
And with the exception of a couple things you said, we haven't mentioned Bethesda games or anything like that.
See, I'm that one person who doesn't think Skyrim sucks because I'm not a fucking bandwagon follower. But like a game like that, I feel attached to the world that I am in by creating situations that I did. That's for that type of game. I feel this.
We have to get back to Skyrim later.
I'm going to expand on that a little bit more when I talk about world. But back to story real quick.
Okay.
The thing about JRPGs is I feel that their characters drive the story, and that's why I'm going to clump characters and story in one. Is that cool? Because I do prefer the characters in JRPGs, and here's the reason why.
Okay.
I feel that a lot. I've been playing JRPGs for nearly 20 years because I'm old. But
because I'm old,
and I sound like I'm maybe 12, but I'm not. Well,
don't say you're old. Say you're experienced. You're seasoned.
I'm seasoned. Yeah, I'm seasoned. But the thing is that I think a lot of JRPGs characters are more fleshed out than a lot of Western RPGs. However, even though I prefer them, I will say BioWare is close to them, if not on par with them. Well, no, they're on par with them. The only thing is that there's more JRPGs than there are BioWare games. So my thing, and the other reason I choose characters is JRPGs have some of the most memorable villains. We haven't talked about villains.
Yeah, that's true.
This is true.
I mean, we talk about villains. Fuck, they have some of the best villains in a video game, period. You think of, Kefka, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
To me, the greatest villain in a video game ever.
He's joking on crack.
Because here's the thing with World. I like JRPGs, like you said, they're LSD trips. They're like dreams. That's how they're like really dreamlike.
Yeah.
But the thing that I think all Western RPGs, Bethesda, BioWare, they can do a little bit better is they have that Tolkien mentality, that D&D world building mentality, where there is just a fuck ton of lore. Like in Skyrim, I think Skyrim's overrated, but I don't hate it. But one thing I did like to do in Skyrim was collect fucking books and just read them. Because they had...
They really helped, like, they made the world so much more alive, I feel. I feel they do that in general in Western RPGs, just because they encourage exploration. So they kind of... It's kind of inevitable that's going to be a little more rich.
Yeah. What's interesting, though, is I think we're starting to see that trend in the JRPG, though. If you look at... with Final Fantasy... There's a new Xenoblade coming out for the Wii U.
Yeah. And Final Fantasy 15.
15 looks amazing. I mean, that game looks fantastic. That's going to be, like... They seem to borrow some designs from, like, Elder Scrolls. And then I think, it's not an RPG. I never classified it, but the new Zelda game, they said is going to be open world as well.
Oh, yeah. I am so excited for that. Just because, like, Wind Waker is my favorite video game of all time.
Ooh.
And
I like you.
I wished that...
One thing, and it's just Japanese RPGs just have better plot twists, and I'll tell you why. There are moments when I'm playing a Japanese RPG, and I could be like, oh, this is, like a kid, or not a kid-friendly, but like a teenage-friendly story, like Tales of Vesperia, and then the next second I see my main character get stabbed with a knife by his best friend.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
I remember
what?
that.
Or how about Star Ocean 4, which, let's be honest, kind of sucked the story, but... the part when you go to Earth and you save it and you're leaving the planet and you're happy, and then Earth, literally, your home explodes in your face. I mean, shit like that just doesn't happen in Western RPGs because it doesn't have as many cutscenes, probably, but it just doesn't happen. So I think one thing Japanese RPGs do really well is plot twists, even if some suck. Some of them, Persona 3, one of the main characters dying.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 7's a classic because of that big twist.
Kefka, I just mentioned.
Kefka.
Yeah.
Chrono Trigger, you die. I mean, it just does it better. That's one thing that I can't... Western RPGs do it sometimes with Mass Effect 1. If you don't get Grunt on your side, he will literally shoot you.
Yeah.
Stuff like that happens, but like Maga said, this is mostly BioWare pushing the boundaries. And I want to see other games push it. But anyway, I just wanted to add that real fast before we go on to the next subject.
Star Ocean, real quick. You talked about Star Ocean 4's plot twist. You didn't even mention Star Ocean 3's infamous plot twist.
Okay, well, that plot twist made me hate that fucking
game.
That
made me hate it too.
Mind.
Let me say something, because I love... My favorite Star Ocean is the second one.
The best one.
The best one, yeah. The second Star Ocean is the best, and fucking Square Enix won't put it on the virtual store. God damn them. But that's not the point. The point is that's such a great game. It's such a wonderful, fun, really good story. That type of game. The third one has a plot twist that invalidates that entire series. I know there's people who love it. There's an idiot that I used to know on YouTube. He used to say, it's so philosophical and beautiful. And to me, it's a fuck you to the fans. It's
not only a fuck you to the fans, it's basically a fuck you to anybody who literally put any time into that fucking game. It was Dexter Season 6 on your face.
Oh.
And it was just fucked. It was fucked. It was fucked. That's what it fucking was.
I mean, that sounds painful.
You know what happened?
Spoiler alert. Do you want to know, Jim?
No, not even spoiler alert. This is to warn people not to play this fucking game. Tell them, Magnus.
Okay, so the game starts out like any Star Ocean. It's great. It's a fun game, but once you get to the point it gets ruined, you find out that world, the entire Star Ocean series, is a virtual reality multiplayer online game.
Fucking MMO. The whole story is building up to this epic fucking battle. You kill them, you're like, yeah, we won, we saved the world. Ha. It's motherfucking World of Warcraft. I'm just like, no.
Yeah, basically what it is you have invaders from another dimension, and what the other dimension is the real world, and it's actually the creator of the MMO sending viruses to destroy your world.
That sounds terrible, and
it is horrible.
I didn't want to play the game before, but, I mean...
Don't even.
I don't think...
Play the second one and pretend the third one doesn't exist. How about?
Yeah, and play the fourth one with Japanese subtitles, you'll be okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Alright.